You guys might remember this gigantic hickory slab table that we had glued up and sealed all of the rot. In this video, we are going to go through the process of finishing this up so that you can have a flawless finish on all of your tabletops. First thing I needed to do was flip this table over so that we could clean up the seal epoxy that busted through here. As you can see, epoxy will always get through, so you need to make sure you seal on the bottom, which we're going to do just now. Now this table is 2 inches thick, 4 foot wide, 12 foot long hickory. It is everything I have it in me to flip this over without dying. So I'm trying to do it as little as possible. So we're going to get all of the underside work done, making sure we are sealed and ready. It is time to put the epoxy in the bow tie crack and in the rot, I guess, or in the knot holes right there. So the shop is a little bit warmer, and as you can see, the epoxy that I'm going to use I have had in the house, and I've had it in warm water, so it's very liquidy right now, which will help the bubbles release. You want to make sure the space is warm as well. I got the heater up to 68 and we'll keep it there. Again, this is to help release the bubbles and see how it goes. Got some bubbles on the top of my cup right here. Going to use the torch real fast just to get rid of them, because what's on the top is obviously going to go in into the bottom of these. We want to make sure we're not dealing with a whole bunch of bubbles. That's all we're after here. I want to cast a word of warning out there. While having the epoxy warm allowed the bubbles to release, I did have another bucket of epoxy sitting on the side bench, and it cured super fast because it was sitting still and it was a little bit warmer. So make sure you mix up what you need, and maybe don't let it sit so long like I did and wasted a whole quart-sized bucket of epoxy. So got to be careful because the exothermic reaction of this stuff is pretty crazy. Pretty cool. Time for all of our favorite task, sanding and cleaning up the slab. But you got to remember, you put in a ton of work to get to this point, and you don't want to ruin the finish by not doing a proper sanding and cleaning up job. I'm using my Immerse sander with an Abernet sandpaper on it. The Abernet is a net and it helps suck through all the dust so that there's less floating around in the shop. I'm going to use that to clean up the live edges of this table. I'm trying to get out any of the soft material to make sure that we leave a good fine live edge for the customer. I'm also using a wire wheel to clean up all of the little gaps that I might not be able to get into with the sander and make sure those are stripped away. Here and there I like to hit the bigger knots or protrusions with a file to make sure those are nice and soft and that clothes or elbows don't catch this and hurt anybody. So I've got quite a bit of epoxy here, and the power planer seems to remove things relatively quickly. This is obviously heavy duty bulk removal, and then we will come back and follow up with all the sanders and polishing and all that good stuff, but this will work for now. You obviously want to make sure you don't gouge heavily into your wood, because you can't go adding wood back in. Got a huge majority of the excess epoxy cleaned up with the power plane and hand planed, and it was a huge mess to clean up. Now, there was still enough epoxy there that I wanted to use a belt sander versus an orbital sander to clean it up, because if you stay in one spot stationary with an orbital sander, it tends to gum up the epoxy a little bit and make it soft again. So again, got to be careful because the belt sander is very aggressive. And once we got the excess removed, you're always going to find little spots that you need to touch up and try to fill in. And I just filled a little Dixie cup with epoxy and then made sure I really worked that in, and also used the heat gun to make sure it was warmed up and would flow accordingly. Just be conscious when you're using that heat gun that you don't heat up and kind of burn the top layer of the epoxy, because it just ain't gonna look good and you don't want to have to go back and do it again. And now it is time to cut this massive slab down to its proper length of 108 inches. So this is a 9-foot table like I mentioned. And to do that, I am going to be using my Craig ACS track saw. And my daughter is going to help lay that out nice and square. Measure twice or 3 times and cut once. Once everything's cut down, it is time to put the legs on, which I didn't make a video about doing the legs because it's really just a lot of flashing lights while doing the welding. I have a video linked in the description below of a different style of leg that I made in the past. This new design has a lot less welding to it and is just as structural. To attach those legs to the base, we're going to be using these big old threaded inserts. Going to actually use the legs themselves to mark out the location of where the holes are, and then at this point we want to make sure on the left and right side of the table we utilize the same leg again, just in case the holes aren't in exactly the same spot. When drilling the holes for these threaded inserts, you want to make sure you're using a properly sized drill bit so that the threaded insert has enough bite, and obviously be very, very careful that you don't drill through the top of your table because that would make everybody want to cry. So now we are done fabbing up this table, and it is time for our favorite part of every project, which is sanding. I'm going to go all the way up to 320 grit on the top, probably stick it to 220 on the bottom, using the 6-inch Immerse orbital sander. And this is Hickory, so we're going to be doing this for a very long time. But again, be patient because swirl marks are nothing that any of us want on top of our table. I don't know how long I actually sanded on here, but it felt like it was about a week. It probably wasn't actually that long. But I went through, starting at my lowest grit, working my way slowly up, and a really good tip is make sure you thoroughly clean your surface before moving to the next grit, because little bits of dust, little bits of sand in there that have broken off of your sandpaper are a big, big culprit for your swirl marks. Now this is an expensive table that was built on commission here, and I wanted to make sure I put out the best work out of the shop. So I went through, turned the lights off, went through with a panel light, and really inspected for any swirl marks, marked them out with a pencil, and then went back and hit those areas again with the Mirka random orbit sand. While I was doing that inspection, I did notice a couple tiny little pinholes in the epoxy. Instead of mixing up more epoxy, like we did before for the bigger holes that we found, I used some CA glue. Quick way of moving right along. If you spray some activator, you can go back with sandpaper in a matter of seconds and carry on with your work. All right, table is sanded to 240, I think, and then I went over just the epoxy all the way up to 400. Right here, I did a test with 1,000 to 3,000 grit sandpaper, and it's feeling good, and it's looking like we're in good shape. Probably don't really need to do any polishing on here, because once we put the rubiuo on, it should shine that right up. So anyway, we are going to basically wet polish the rest of the epoxy in here. 1,000, 15, 2, and 3,000 grit. Doesn't take too long. This is the first time I've done any polishing like this with the sander, and just a word of warning, the sander does get very hot because you don't have the vacuum, or at least in my case, attached, and that must diminish the airflow that's being sucked through the sander, and it does seem to get a little bit warm. So I didn't run the sander for long periods of time. Just want to make sure you guys don't ruin your expensive pieces of equipment. table is sanded to 320. We polished the epoxy up to 3000. It's feeling great, looking great. And we are going to be using Rubiuo Monocoat Pure as the finish on here. I don't have a whole bunch of this left, but honestly, for the first coat here, I'm going to be mixing up a tablespoon. Four teaspoons basically is what I want to mix up for this. So little goes such a long way, and it's such a beautiful finish. I'll probably end up doing 2 coats, so let's mix up that first one, buff it on here. It's going to look amazing. It's a little bit cold. If you know, you know. And my hardener has basically glued itself together. So I just rip the top right off. Why not? Kind of looks like beeswax. Ready to go. Favorite finish for tables like this. My wife thinks that Rubiuo Monocoat smells like musty tea, but I think it smells like beeswax, and I really enjoy it compared to other finishes for tables like this. As you guys know, I'm a spray finisher, don't do it at all type of guy, but for flat surfaces like this, where you don't really want to move it around, 2 coats is all you need to do. You could probably get away with 1 with Rubiuo Monocoat, so it's really just an unbeatable product. I personally have not used the colored versions of Rubiuo Monocoat, but that also will save you lots of steps. Instead of doing stain, you can just do a colored Rubiuo and be ready to go. Make sure you use the right kind of polishing wheel on there so you don't have a bunch of lint in your finish, and obviously you don't want to be scratching anything up. Now that is the end of this video. I didn't get any pictures or anything of doing the install because I was in the customer's house, but I do have those couple of pictures of the final product in the cabin, and it looks spectacular. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hammer that thumbs up button, and you guys have a good one.